Dereta, dereta, dereta. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, okay. Hop, 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 hop. No le mueva. Asparagus.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So I have another video for you guys this week. So in the video today, I want to talk about studying partners. So for those of you who are in didactic year PA school or who are about to start PA school, I really recommend a study partner. So in my program, we have about 80 students and I have a lot of classmates, but there's certain classmates, of course, that I'm closer to, and we study together. And I think this is really important, and it's really helped me out through my didactic year, having that individual study with me. Even if we're not studying specifically together, we are studying in the same room or in the same coffee shop, etc. I think this is really important to have someone study with you. I've noticed that whenever I study by myself, I get off track really bad. On top of that, I've noticed that whenever I study at home, I can't study at home. And the reason is because I get off track once again, or my bed just looks very comfortable that I go in there and I say I'm going to take a nap, and a 30-minute nap turns into a 2 to 3 hour nap. So it just screws up my entire day, screws up my night, etc. So I've learned not to study at home because I can't focus. Now this is different for other people. I know some of my classmates are able to study at home, which is great, kudos to them. And then on top of that, they're able to study without having somebody being next to them. But from my experience, I can't do that. I have to have someone study next to me. That way we're kind of just bouncing each other energy back and forth. And then if I have a question, I'm able to ask my classmate. If my classmate has a question, she's able to ask me, vice versa. Versus if I'm by myself and I don't know the answer to a question, I have to go and Google it, look for the answer. And even if I Google it and I YouTube it, sometimes it's not enough. I need an explanation, and it'll take me a while to grasp that information and grasp that concept. Versus if I had my classmate that was there and she knows the information already, she's able to explain it to me. And not only will it help her, the repetition, it'll help me also. So that's why I really recommend a study partner if you can. And then on top of that, you motivate each other. So sometimes, you know, specifically during didactic year, it's the year that you study the most. I'm in my second month of clinical rotations, and in comparison to my didactic year, I did a lot more studying in my didactic year than my clinical year, because in didactic year, you're having exams every week or every other week, and it's just not just one exam, it's 2, 3, 4 exams. So it's a lot of exams you have to study for. Versus your clinical rotation, you have an exam, probably the big exam is like once a month, or you'll have your other exam, which is like midway, half of the month, and it's just a practical. So once again, also for practicals, you want to make sure you have a fellow classmate. So what are practicals? In PA school, you'll have practicals where you have, whether it's a standardized patient or a fake patient or just one of your fellow classmates acting like a patient, and you have to go in there and you have to talk to them as if you're talking to a real patient. You have to make sure you ask the correct questions in your history, make sure you run the correct tests, and you diagnose the patient appropriately, and then on top of that, do the correct physical exam. So this is even better if you have a classmate of yours that you're able to practice on, and that way when you're practicing on each other, they'll tell you, hey, you missed this, or you missed that, or you didn't do this, or you did this incorrectly, etc. They're able to give you that feedback. I've tried practicing these physical exams and these practicals on my fellow family members, and they're great to practice on, but they don't know what you're being tested on, or they don't know how to specifically critique you on your physical exams. Well, this is my experience. None of my family has studied medicine, so unless you have like a family member who's a doctor or who's a physician assistant who can critique you, in my case, I can't. So they're not as helpful than when I practice with my fellow classmate that is studying the same thing as I am, and she's able to critique me on certain things and give me that feedback, and vice versa, I'm able to do it to her. So that's why it's really helpful studying with a fellow classmate. And then on top of that, like when we go to coffee shops and you're sitting with your fellow classmate, like once again, that energy is just going back and forth, and they're able to keep you in line when they see that you're getting distracted, or you're on Facebook, or you're on YouTube or etc., they're able to just keep you in line. So that's why I think it's really important to make sure that you find yourself a study partner that you can study with. You don't have to specifically study together, like going over the information together, but just being around each other, whether it's like at a coffee shop, at a library, at your own home. It's really, really good in my experience in comparison to me just studying by myself, where I get sidetracked, have really bad ADD, or start watching TV shows or get on YouTube and go into a black hole. And no, specifically didactic year, your time is very, very valuable. And I can't repeat that enough. Like every minute's very valuable. At least it was for me, because I was studying most of the time and I want to make sure I knew the information and I did well in my classes. And when it comes down to that weekend before the exams or that day before the exams, your time is even more valuable, because you want to make sure that you're making every minute worth and that you're going over the information that you don't know or you don't understand or you don't comprehend, etc. So having a classmate there or having several classmates with you is just great. I know my first semester I studied with several classmates, but then after that we started having our own schedules, and then I migrated more towards studying with a fellow classmate because she lived by where I live. We lived very close. We stayed in the same area, so we ended up studying together all the time. And we motivated each other, make sure we woke up early on the weekends before the exams, didn't wake up late, and we got sleep also. So sleep, very, very important. So once again, if you can, find that study partner that you can study with during your didactic year, even your clinical year. Sometimes your clinical year is a lot harder because you have different schedules on your rotations depending what doctor you're working with, but definitely your didactic year, because most of you will have the same schedule. You guys will be in class the same times. You'll have your anatomy times at the same time, etc. So you'll be more together than in comparison to your second year. Although my second year so far, I'm able to study with some of my classmates, but not as much as I used to during my first year, because they have different schedules or they're in different rotations, etc. But definitely during your didactic year, which is when you're just learning so much information and you have so many exams, and it's really the year that you build your foundations on, and it's really important to have those strong foundations, because if you don't have those strong foundations, guys, you guys are really gonna really suffer during second year, because during clinical rotation is just expanding more on those building foundations that you learned during your didactic year. So that's why it's really important to not only do well in your classes, but to make sure that you know the information, not only for yourself, but also for your patients, because you want to be able to treat them well. And if you get a doctor like my doctor who pimps you on everything and asks you questions to the biochemistry level and the pathophysiology level, and you didn't do well in those classes, then you're gonna struggle. Even though I didn't take biochemistry in PA school, I took biochemistry years ago, and I was struggling so much because, like I said, chemistry is just not my subject. Even though I did well in biochemistry, I had taken it a while ago, so I couldn't remember most of the information. And thankfully, I did well in my pathophysiology classes, so I was able to answer the questions when it came down to pathophysiology. But you'll have doctors like that are just pimping you over and over again on detail stuff, not broad, but detail, like the pathophysiology of a certain disease, the physiology of the menstrual cycle to the molecular level. So that's why it's really important to have that foundation for your clinical rotations. You can do that by studying a lot, making sure that you study correctly, and make sure you have a study partner if you can. That way you guys can bounce off each other, ideas off each other, and you guys can both construct each other and also keep each other on track to getting good grades and learning the information. Alright guys, thanks for watching my videos. If you guys have any questions, make sure to shoot me an email or comment below, or any topics you guys would like me to discuss. Please let me know, and I will make those videos. I'm in my clinical rotations, so sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to respond, specifically in comparing to what rotation I am in. Like I just finished my ER rotation, I had long hours, and those were just exhausting. So I'm sorry if it took me a while to respond, but I will respond. Alright guys, thanks for watching my videos, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.